Hi, welcome to Thesis Magic. We're going to show you how to construct the ideal thesis statement in several small steps. First of all, let's talk about what is a thesis statement. A thesis statement does the very most important thing, and that is it answers the prompt. That's what AP stands for, answer the prompt. The second thing it does is it states your position, where you stand on the historical question being asked. And the third thing it does is provide organization for your essay. It outlines which categories you're going to discuss. The great thing about a good thesis statement is not only does it provide order to your reader, but it also helps you keep your eyes on the prize, which is answering the prompt. You know that if you set up your organizational categories, you know which paragraph goes which place. You know that you keep answering the question over and over, and you keep referring back to your position. So the thesis statement, if you take the time to craft a good one, can really help you when you write, and that's important in a timed writing. So let's do a little bit of math magic with our thesis statement. And the thesis formula is X, however, A, B, C, therefore Y. Now what does all those X's and Y's mean? Well, first of all, X stands for the strongest point against your argument. We call this the counter argument. You want to show the reader that you've examined the question from all sides, and after your careful analysis, your side is stronger than this counter argument. A, B, and C represent the three strongest points for your argument. These are your organizational categories. They are, in many cases, but not all, your organizational categories from Sprite. It can be two different things that the prompt calls for. Like in our first essay, it calls for discussion of unity and identity. So you would want your two organizational categories to be there. And then the Y is your position, your stand on the prompt. Now, contrary to what you've been taught before, a thesis doesn't have to be one sentence. If it takes you two sentences to get to those 3 points, answering the prompt, organizational categories, and position, by all means, take those 2 or 3 sentences. We don't want to lock you into that one sentence thesis and then have your sentences being really long or being really convoluted, or you lose track of them. So it's okay to separate them into more than one sentence. Let's practice a little bit. A basic prompt, we're going to look at a simple way to set up the essay and a sample of a thesis statement. This is a compare-contrast. There are more similarities. You're going to decide whether there are more similarities or more differences between the two things. That's your stance. That's your position. They're more alike or they're more different. So let's take a look at a very simple one that's close to home. Compare and contrast Cy-Fair High School and Cypress Creek High School. Let's set up a Venn diagram for your pre-writing. We've got a list of Cy-Fair attributes, older traditions, the Bobcats, maroon and white. Miss Hoover graduated from there aeons ago, and of course BFND. Cypress Creek, superficial traditions. You got Cougar, blue and silver. Miss Kirby graduated in the more recent past, and of course Cougar Fight dies tonight. Commonalities, they're Texan, they're suburban, they have student body size that are relatively the same. So there we set up a Venn diagram to get us started on pre-writing. We can see that there are 4 attributes that are different, 3 that are in common, so our stance is going to be they're a little more different than they are similar. They're both high, so your X statement is your counter argument. Cy-Fair and Cypress Creek are both high schools in Texas with similar student bodies in suburban locations. You've acknowledged their similarities. However, the traditions embraced by the schools are very different. Both have different mascots and school colors, and the quality of education offered by each varies widely. They're your organizational categories. In your first body paragraph, you're going to discuss traditions, and you're going to give 3 examples of different traditions. In the second body paragraph, you're going to discuss the mascots and the school colors and give examples of that. And in your third body paragraph, you're going to talk about the quality of education and offer some significant examples that proves this. And here's your assertion. Therefore, despite some similarities, the schools are quite different. There's your position. Very simple, quick to do. You've answered the prompt. You've taken a position and you've provided some organizational categories. So let's talk about how much detail to include in your thesis statement, because if you are a WAP person, the model of a WAP thesis statement is quite different than the model of an AP student, APUSH student. If you haven't learned the WAP one, you are in great luck because you don't have to unlearn it. So let's consider the following prompt. Evaluate the extent to which the Articles of Confederation were effective in solving the problems that confronted the new nation. So were they effective? How effective were they? That's what you'll be taking a position on. So let's look at a level 3 thesis, which just isn't enough. And you can see they've just parroted the Sprite categories politically, socially, economically. It doesn't give the reader a really strong foundation to read your article. It doesn't even give you a very strong foundation to write and provide examples. So this one is just too vague. Let's look at a level 1 thesis, which is too much. Here they have listed every single example of what they're going to be using to prove their point. It goes on and on and on. So what we'll do in a level 2 thesis, which is just right, is that we'll take those examples and we'll come up with a generalization, what the examples have in common, and we'll use those in our thesis statement. So here's our level 2 thesis. Here is our counter-argument. It recognizes the way that the Articles of Confederation were successful. You're saying, hey, okay, I'll give you this. They did a great job with newly acquired territories. They did provide some financial means to increase revenue. However, there's your great word, however, although, though, while, but, yet. All those great transitions that show that you're moving away from your initial assertion. However, there's something different. So here's your first organizational category. It established a loose confederation of states that lacked a sense of national unity. And now in that first body paragraph, you'll provide all of the examples that prove there was no national unity. Your second body paragraph, you'll talk about the internal gridlock, and you'll give examples of that in that body paragraph. In the third one, you'll give examples that show the government didn't have any power to conduct a basic governmental business. So there are your 3 body paragraphs. You'll take them up in the order that you presented them in the thesis, and you'll give specific examples of these 3 body paragraphs, these 3 assertions you make about the articles. Finally, your position statement. Therefore, the Articles of Confederation was not effective in solving many of the problems faced by the newly formed United States. And there's a great level 2 thesis right there. Write a good one. The rest of your essay will go by quickly. It'll be very well organized. Your reader will be a happy little reader when he gets finished and gives you a 6 all the way across. We want happy little readers. So let's look at some of the historical thinking skills and what those thesis statements look like. So if we've got historical causation, the major causes or consequences, what were the most important, again, in your sample, although the introduction of frozen yogurt seemingly marked the beginning of the craze for frozen treats. Okay, so some people think, yes, it's frozen yogurt. You're going to show that the advent of ice cream on a stick was far more important. And you're going to look at these 3 things. It allows consumers freedom of movement, so you'll find some examples of that. You'll find some examples of creating mobile kiosks, ice cream trucks, and then you'll usher in a whole new line of frozen novelties and all the things that come from the ice cream on a stick. Here's your position statement. Therefore, the invention of ice cream on a stick remains the most important cause of the ice cream frenzy in the United States. And that's historical causation. For continuity and change over time, which is what we're going to write on Friday, here's your continuity. Your X is your continuity. While the physical plan of Cypher High School has changed over the years, we've expanded, we've added on, all those kinds of things, much of the school remains the same. including the traditions, strong academic and professional success, and outstanding athletic and performing arts performances. So what are your 3 categories you're going to discuss? You're going to first take up traditions and show some strong traditions going back 72 years. Then you're going to look at the strong academic and professional success and give some examples of those. And then you're going to look at outstanding athletic and performing arts programs. And then at the end, here's your assertion. As a result, Cy-Fair High School is a prime example of continuity over time. I'm not going to go into the compare and contrast because we did that with the Cy-Fair Cy Creek essay, but this does break it down a little bit more generally. And let's look at periodization, to take a position. So my counter argument here is that cute cat calendars caused a short-lived craze in the 70s. But it was the rollout of YouTube that really got people, fanatical about cats. And so how are you going to prove that? Your first one is that you're going to examine a plethora of websites devoted solely to cats. Then you're going to look at the outbreak of viral videos and give some examples of videos that were unmatched in stupidity. And your final assertion statement is, for cat lovers then, February 14th, 2005 marks the signal moment in their fur-filled existence. So there's your assertion that YouTube was vital to cat lovers and their videos everywhere. Thanks for watching. We hope you can go out and be a real thesis wizard all on your own. If you have any questions, just contact your teacher. Good luck on Friday.